Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Today I want to talk about combat with the Thargoids, or more specifically, my encounters with them. Now, I've got a federal gunship, I only bought that recently, got it A-rated, engineered up, and I've been practicing some combat with the Thargoids here. Now keep in mind, I'm not super fantastic when it comes to combat, I think all of you know that by now. So this of course isn't a tutorial, it's more about how my progress is going with them, and the fact just pointing out a few hints and tips that you may want to try yourself. Now if you do want a tutorial, there are a few out there. In fact, there's one rather exceptional tutorial and I'll point that out a little later for you, and you can go and check that out if you're so inclined. So where am I? Well, out here near the Pleiades, of course. This is Alcazar's Rest, and here is my gunship. Before we go too much further, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown on how it's built, and if you've got any suggestions for me, I'll appreciate to hear them. You can let me know what you'll change on the ship or what you might improve. So main points here are the shield health and the armor health. So when dealing with the Cyclops, it's all important to be able to tank them. They do deal out quite a lot of damage, so you need to be able to stay in the fight for as long as possible, especially if you're going to do it solo. And you'll notice there that I mainly concentrate everything on the hull with just over 3,600 points on that. And here is my hardpoint loadout. The regular weapons are for dealing with the Cyclops shield when it comes up. The alternative, which I tend to do most of the time, is to run away and wait for the shield to discharge. Now I carry 2 AX missile racks and 2 AX multi-cannons. The rest here is shield boosters, just to buff the shield up a little bit. Could probably do with a bit more thermal resistance there, as I've noticed the Thargoids do like to deal a bit of thermal damage out. But for now, this is what I've got. It's by no means what I'm going to keep, but it's what I'm at the moment. And not everything is fully engineered yet, but everything I have engineered is generally at grade 5, where grade 5 is actually possible. Regarding Hud Enhancement then, I've put as many packs in for that as I can fit into the ship, and for now I've only gone with 1 module resistance pack. I may swap out a hull one for a module one later on, so that I've got 2 or 3 at module resistance, because I've found that the Thargoids like to try and breach the canopy, and they also seem to take out weapons quite effectively as well. Now one thing I highly recommend you have, in fact don't leave without it, is a fighter hangar. If you're going solo, 2 fighters here will keep the Thargoid swarm off you almost indefinitely. And the fighter bay is one of the reasons I've gone with the gunship rather than the assault ship. Now for those of you wondering why I'm not using a larger ship, 2 reasons. One, I don't want to keep practicing with the larger ships because they do have quite a high rebuy, and although I've got a reasonable amount of money there, it does soon start stacking up. The other reason is that really I'm not a fan of the big 3 ships, so for now I'm not going to be flying one. I do have an Anaconda tucked away, but maybe I'll bring it out at a later point. Let's get something else out the way then right now. For now, for me, fighting the Thargoids is not about defeating them. I don't have the skills or the ability to do that, at least not yet. But the Thargoids are a lot of fun, and they are by far the most challenging NPCs in the game at the moment. So the fact that they're both fun and challenging has meant that I've spent a significant amount of time out there trying to improve my abilities, and I have done so quite well, I think. If you're at the point in the game where you really don't know what to do with yourself, head out and try some Thargoids. I don't think you'll be too disappointed. So then, the first thing you want to do when the Thargoid comes up and scan you, of course, is to do the Xeno scan. As soon as you've done that, you can lay straight into the Thargoid, and you want to deploy as many missiles as you actually can. And the trick really is to not miss. You can see right here that on the first pass I managed to exert the initial heart, target the heart with the sub-targets, and then lay into that with the multi-cannon. And this is a little bit more tricky than laying into it with the missiles, but if you're a reasonable aim you should be able to do it without too much difficulty. Now unfortunately for some there is no gimbaled weapons, no gimbaled variants of the AX weapons, but there are some turreted weapons. But I found that they are not too accurate, at least not on the ships of this size. Now you'll notice my fighter there communicating with me. As soon as they're destroyed, you can deploy the next fighter. For the most part, I found that the fighter can last quite a few minutes, usually more than enough time for another fighter to be manufactured within your fighter bay. Now, although I haven't managed to do it myself just yet, it is possible to take out the heart in a single pass. So you should be able to get the first heart very quickly once you've got the practice in, or if you've got the skill. And you can see I'm just about to get the heart ripped out here, and there it goes. Now this does anger the Thargoid. It will turn around and come at you with its gooey yellow beam, and that will cause you a few problems. The Thargoid shield also comes up, so generally rather than trying to face it, I run away and wait for it to discharge and then return to the fray again. So just to reiterate again, this of course is not a tutorial, but what I really want to do is point out that even if you're pretty useless at combat like me, you can still join in with the Thargoids and have a lot of fun. They are tough, but they are by no means impossible. And if you're worried about rebuy costs, then you can simply run away. I tend to try and run when I'm about down to 30% or so. When the Thargoid does this with its weapons, it's a good opportunity to try and get in as many missiles as you can. Usually you can deal enough damage to exert a heart, although you do have to be careful because, as you noticed, it does cause the modules to malfunction and it does cause a bit of damage. I do briefly just want to mention that I used to spend quite a lot of time in PvE within the game, but eventually that got stale and quite boring. I don't find the NPC ships to be much of a challenge, at least the human NPC ships. So for me at least, Thargoids really did shake things up by quite a lot, and I'm glad that I did spend the time getting the ship outfitted for this and bringing it out here to the Pleiades sector. Right here you'll notice I'm about to take a huge amount of damage. I go from 37% right down to 8% in near enough no time, and that's an attack you really do have to watch out for. At this point I'd been dealing with quite a lot of combat with the Thargoids, done a few too many battles, and my brain was a little bit frazzled. So stupidly I tried rebooting the ship, and what I should have done is tried resetting the power priorities on all of the modules, and I think I probably would have been okay here, may have even escaped. At any rate, if you're looking for a true tutorial, then I highly recommend the one made by Gluttony Fang. He's put a few videos up and he's got a massive forum thread on the subject that he keeps constantly up to date. I'll link both of those in the video description below. If you're having trouble or if you're having any interest at all in Thargoid combat, I highly recommend you go and try it out. It's got a whole load of information in there, and I think you'll find just about everything that you actually need to know. That then brings us to an end of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.